What's going on, people? Welcome to United View. Good morning and welcome to the preview for Man United's game against Brentford tomorrow night, Old Trafford. Big one, night kickoff, and there's nowhere to hide, guys. We have to win. We have to win. And honestly, it is the most cliche saying in football. Yeah, you have to win. You have to win. But these are the ones you really do have to. You really do have to win. We haven't won. We haven't won in the league in 3 games, and we haven't scored. You know, it is. This is, I think, the bit where if we don't win today, you can say it's more than a blip. I would say it's more than a blip. I think obviously the Liverpool result happened. We wanted to bounce back. 0-0 against Southampton, red card, changed the game, etc. But we didn't win the game. Then you see what happened against Newcastle. Clearly didn't win the game, got absolutely destroyed. And this is a very, very dangerous game, man. Brentford have lost like 1 game in their last sort of 6 or 7, probably even more than that. They have literally been a fantastic team this season. Difficult to beat. They don't lose many games. They do draw some quite a few, but they are a very difficult team to beat. Often switching to a back five against some of the teams that are more dangerous. And Thomas Frank's proven he can switch it up. And you saw what they did against Brighton. You know, the 2 informed teams in the league going at it. Both difficult teams to beat. Played out a 3-3. They went to Arsenal, got a draw, didn't they? They went to the Etihad. They won just before the break for the World Cup. So this team is not scared of anyone. They already beat us this season, obviously, earlier on, that 4-0 in the second game. So this is going to be a tough game from looking at the Brentford's perspective. And actually, you know, if we don't get 6 points in the next 2 games, we're starting to look in a peculiar position now, in a dodgy position. Now, don't get me wrong. Obviously, teams in and around that 4th and 3rd spot and 5th, which is us, Newcastle and Spurs, will do a little bit of this. I'm not saying it all depends on this game, but we have to look at ourselves. And right now, we are off it. We are off it. We have to start up front. We have got to start up front, man. We must start Martial. Obviously, he ain't going to play 90 minutes. I understand that. But he has to start the game, man, in my opinion. He really does. I know we could only manage, half an hour against Newcastle the other day in that awful loss. But we have to start and see where the game goes, at least. He needs to be the glue. I mean, even from when he was on for that half an hour, you could just see little things, getting the ball down. He starts to counter-attack in his own box, which actually gets messed up by Luke Shaw in the end because he doesn't play the ball down the side to Sancho. But we have a breakaway opportunity where he beats a couple of players in his own box, passes the ball to someone else, gets it back on his left foot, swings a good ball out to the wing. Then there's another chance where he kind of, not a chance, but again, half chance, where he chests it down in the box, cuts inside with great touch, ball gets deflected, goes for a goal kick. Already in that half an hour, you can see he's done more than Weghorst has done in 12 games. And that's not being disrespectful to Wout Weghorst, because again, he's there because of the same guy we're talking about, Anthony Martial, hasn't been there. And remember, in the full view, we said, can Anthony Martial have an impact on this latter stage of the season? He could literally be our saviour. And I know that sounds crazy because everyone's going to be like, Flex, he can't be our saviour, his time's done, etc. Forget the longevity. I'm talking about the next 10 games in the league. I'm talking about the running. I'm talking about just the rest of this season. He literally can be... He can be the difference of us getting over the line and not, is what I'm saying. In terms of the glue, in terms of how the team plays when he plays. The team plays better when he plays. Also, we know in terms of midfield, that same midfield we can't roll out that same midfield. I don't care that the only team to beat us at Old Trafford in the league this year is Brighton on the first day of the season, which is fantastic. We've got the best home defence in the league, I was reading. I think we've only conceded like 8 goals, which is the least to concede at home. Obviously, we've had big problems on the road. I'm talking about just at Old Trafford. Old Trafford's been a fortress this season. But I don't care about that. Just because that is the facts, and Old Trafford is a fortress. We cannot roll out McTominay and Sabitzer. Fred has to come in. He has to come in. And really, I can't keep seeing Bruno trying to play deeper. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. I mean, we did it against Betis where it worked okay in the first leg, and he played all right actually, especially second half. He did. And that was the immediate game after Liverpool. And yeah, I gave him his flowers then because I thought he did okay in that game. But that's Betis, man. In the Premier League, and when we're in a tough spot as well, I need to have to see players in their proper positions. And even Fred coming in, that you don't know what sort of Fred's going to play. But I was stunned Couldn't believe he didn't play at Newcastle. We tried that McTominay experiment. It did not work. He should be back on the bench, McTominay. And surely we've got to go with Fred, Sabitzer and Bruno in midfield. Again, I'd be stunned if it wasn't that. I don't want to see any experiments of trying to put Jadon Sancho in the 10 and move Bruno somewhere else, and none of that, in my opinion anyway. I just want to see players in their proper positions. Rashford needs to play on the left and Anthony needs to start on the right. And hopefully Wan-Bissaka's back from his illness, to be honest. He was ill a couple of days ago. I don't know how much he's trained since then. Hopefully he's back, because Diogo Dalot looked off it as well. Maybe he could bring in Molasse to freshen things up. Ten Hag likes to do that sometimes. So, look, we shouldn't panic, though. We shouldn't panic. I've spoken about some of the negatives, but also we shouldn't panic. I think, if we beat Brentford and we beat Everton, we'd look in a good position again, really. We really would. You've got players that have proven, if we're being honest, that we can bounce back from bad defeats. We can do that. Although, like I said, in this instance, in the league, since the 7-0 at Liverpool, we haven't won and we haven't scored. And I know one of them is a tough away game at Newcastle, which followed a similar theme. So what can you say there? And I know the other one, we got the red card in unlucky circumstances, which it happens, and that completely changed the game against Southampton. And we managed to win in the cup against Betis and Fulham and look at the Fulham game. Look at that Fulham game tells you everything you need to know about. Again, we are riding our luck. We are getting away with it, and that's why I think, yes, it's one thing trying to play ourselves out of this form, but another thing is getting players back into positions that help us. And we badly need Christian Eriksen back. I know we all know that he's going to be a big plus. Obviously, we know what kind of plus it's going to be to have Casemiro back. And you just kind of want these games to just keep getting chalked off of this ban. He's done 2 now, so he's going to miss Brentford. Then he'll miss Everton on the weekend, and he'll be back after that. And Everton's going to be a tough game as well. But let's just deal with this one first. We need players back, but the main one is Anthony Martial. I don't care how long he can last. He played half an hour the other day. That's minutes in his legs. He's been training for a month now. You start him. If he has to come off in the 70th minute, then you do it. If he has to come off in the 65th minute, then you take him off. But he has to start the game. Whatever we can get out of him, we need to get out of him. And again, I'm not being disrespectful to Weghorst, but even then I'm thinking, then can we mix it up and then put Rashi up front and then Jadon Sancho on the left for the remaining 20-25 minutes of the game? Because we just have to get these players back. This is, in my opinion, I think it's going to be an incredibly tight game. Brentford, I think, on the break as well, they're very, very good. Mbeumo, Wissa, players like that. You look at, obviously, Ivan Toney. First of all, we know we can't give any penalties away. We shouldn't be giving penalties away to anyone, but especially not him. And actually, away from that, let's just talk about Ivan's game in general. His hold-up play is brilliant. He knows how to put it about. He's a good finisher. He's good in the air. So we have to be aware to that. We have to be alert to that. Last time, Brentford, and I know we're a different Man United since that 4-0 battering at Brentford in the second game of the season. We're a completely different team. So I don't want to draw too many parallels to that. I'm more drawing parallels to just actually how good of a team Brentford are and how good they can be on their day. They're not scared to get in your face. They're not scared to press. And from set pieces, they're dangerous as well. They've got some big players. And they got some technically good players as well. And like I said, if we don't win one-on-one battles and we don't show the desire to win and we don't show the heart to win, then we ain't going to get the right result. Erik ten Hag he could tell how pissed off he was when he was talking about how badly that Newcastle wanted to win that game. How badly, we lacked the effort, the desire, the willingness to win. Luke Shaw said it. Dalot said it. Now, these are all things that we've heard too much from our players this season. There is, how many games have we gone into away from home? And I dare say, and I hate to be pessimistic, I dare say there's a couple more in there. I'm looking at Brighton away. I'm looking at Spurs away. Again, big games away from home, because I'm only going off the evidence. And I dare say there's another couple losses somewhere along the way. We've got to go to Bournemouth away where they're fighting for their lives. We've got to go to Forest away. And what, would you put it past us to have dodgy results and the players be saying we just didn't want it enough today? Maybe I'm being a bit pessimistic, but that's just my honest feeling right now. But that should not happen. That should not happen. It doesn't happen at home very often. Even if we don't play well, we still show desire. And it definitely shouldn't be happening away. And if we do that against Brentford at home, if we don't show enough desire, if we don't show enough effort to win and win in battles and playing with intensity, forget it. Pack up and go home. Because one thing is about bringing in better players and and the formations and Eric Ten Hag getting things right, etc., etc. But if we don't back that up with basic intensity, we may as well pack up and go home. And this is absolutely no different. It really is no different because I tell you what, these teams are fighting for. Brentford are having a season of their life. They've got absolutely nothing to lose coming to Old Trafford tomorrow night. Nothing to lose. Everton, next game after that. You know, when you start playing against teams down the bottom that are absolutely fighting for their lives, they're different types of football matches to the first couple of games of the season. Almost like boxers just feeling each other out. You know what I mean? First couple of rounds, have a little feel, have a little touch gloves, find the range, find the distance. Now, mate, this is business end of the season. Every game matter. Every games matter. All games matter, is what I meant to say. All games matter. And I think this is going to be another tough game. We have to get over the line. You know, we can't keep feeling sorry for ourselves. You know, we wanted to be in a position whereby we get to this end of the season and we're competing. So we can't moan at that. But we can't blame fatigue. We can't blame tiredness. We can't blame, the fixture list for playing like this. We just had a long 2-week break where some players got a nice little rest. Rashi had 2 weeks off, recovered from an injury, looked way off it. You know, let's just be honest. He did. He didn't look good against that. I wanted to draw as well, just quickly draw to your attention to the thing that Jacob Murphy was saying as well. He was sort of saying that he sensed that when we started going, you know, taking too long with the goal kicks, it invited Newcastle onto us. He knew they would have a good day, and everyone was obviously piling in on David De Gea at that point. And look, maybe there's a lot of truth to that in terms of, okay, you could see that he was nervous or something like that. But essentially, the whole team, you know, people are starting to sense, especially away from home, that Man United, we got soft underbellies. They can get at us in midfield. You know, we didn't have the right balance in midfield. No striker to impact the game at the top end of the pitch, and then making mistakes at the back as well. So, you know, those things need to be worked upon. I just wanted to bring that to your attention because it just annoyed me yesterday. And a lot of people were talking about it yesterday. And it's not what you want to hear, is it? It's not. It's not. And when we know in the future, Eric Ten Hag wants to be ruthless with this squad. He wants to make changes, and he's going to have to. But I honestly think midfield, it really is. It's the engine room to everything. It's the epicenter. And I'm not trying to just go back to this David De Gea thing for no reason. I'm using it in context of this game because our midfield was so poor against Newcastle. I still don't understand that after that Newcastle game, more people were talking about David De Gea's pass out from the back or didn't come for a cross than actually our midfield was absolutely non-existent. Gone. Put it this way, if we'd have had Casemiro, Bruno and Eriksen versus Sabitzer, McTominay and Bruno further back, but still had De Gea, we would have played better. Absolutely, we would have played better. We know that. So, you know, that's just me saying that I don't think the biggest reason why we lost wasn't because of David De Gea on Sunday. And, you know, look, he can make mistakes. His distribution's not good, etc., etc. But David De Gea stopped that game being 7-0. Stopped it being another battering like Liverpool, to be honest with you. And that's what I saw. Whether it was saves he should have made or not, he stopped it being 4-5, 6-0. And against Brentford, I don't want to see David De Gea having to make big saves. You know what I said the other day yesterday on the Full View. I was like, if you notice something about us, right? We lose. When we lose badly. But when we win narrowly. You know, and even some of the scorelines that may suggest a more flattering one, even some of them, you have to be honest with ourselves. So, you know, one that jumps out is the 3-0 against Leicester at home. I think it was 3-0, wasn't it? It was like, that was tight. We should have been 2-0 down after 25 minutes. Obviously, David De Gea keeping us in it. Then we go on to win the game. West Ham, I know it was in the cup, but, you know, they go 1-0 up. We're struggling. Then an own goal happens. Then Garnacho last minute. Then Fred scores. Ends up being 3-1. Not a true tale of the game. Now, I'm not moaning at winning games like that, but I'm saying it's very interesting that actually we still, even this season, where we're giving Ten Hag praise and we're praising the team because we absolutely have made progress. It just shows how far off where we are, where we want to be. You know, we still don't control football matches. Games are still quite frantic. And this is even with our best midfield there, which actually, to be fair, it has been missing for a long time. You know, we've had to bring in Sabitzer. So we, you know, when Eriksen got injured at the end of January, we had to bring him in last minute. You know, and he's had a few injuries, plus haven't found his feet. Casemiro's missed 8 games. 8 Premier League games, I think it is. Or maybe even more than that. But something like that. Or maybe I think he's missed 8 games in total. A lot of games, man. And we've missed him for our biggest ones as well. Things like Arsenal away, things like Newcastle away. Big games. So, look, I just think we've got to be on it. There's no excuses. Like Ten Hag says, this is the business end of the season, and if we're not careful, we could be literally a dogfight week to week. Well, I think we are. I think we are in a top four dogfight. Until we're not anymore, we are. Yeah, I don't care how crap Spurs are. Newcastle, you have to assume, they've just beaten us in fantastic fashion. Let's just assume that they're there until they're not. But at the end of the day, we're level on points with them. We're level on points. Spurs, all right, got a draw last night, so that put us into fifth temporarily. But we've got the chance to bounce back straight into fourth. And really, it shouldn't even come down to, game by game, or now we're fourth, now we're not. It's about trying to get a run together so we can get a bit of a distance between fourth or third. We just have to get back to winning games. We can't be, drawing here, losing there. It just doesn't work. It's just not what we need. If I'm looking at the games that we got coming up, that obviously Everton is massive on the weekend. You're looking at 6 points here. Then away from that, you've got Forest straight away after that, after Sevilla, at home. Again, you can say on paper it looks good, because Gary Neville was talking about it on Monday Night Football, saying it looks good. Actually, he actually said that's a dream run of fixtures after the loss to Newcastle. He said that's a dream run of fixtures for Man United, and it goes as follows: Brentford tomorrow, Everton at home, Forest away. This is just the league. Forest away, then Tottenham away, then Villa at home, Brighton away, in that little click, and then it goes into a next batch. But I still think that's incredibly difficult. It is, business end of the season, going to Forest away where they've been brilliant. It's not going to be like it was in the Carabao Cup. Brighton away, even though we've got to play them away, play them at Wembley in a couple of weeks as well. Not easy games. Tottenham away. I don't care how crap they've been, and you can laugh at them, but us in the big games, we haven't showed up. But home form alone, you'd think that would put us into a good position, and it starts tomorrow night at Old Trafford. Prediction: I'm going to go over tight, narrow win. 2-1. I think 2-1. Maybe 1-0, but I think we win by 1 goal. But honestly, it could be a draw. That the way I'm feeling. I'm feeling quite down at the moment. I just need us to bounce back. I need us to get back to winning ways, and hopefully we do that tomorrow night. We have to do that, because then, like I say, if we don't win tomorrow, I will say it's more than a blip from after Liverpool. I definitely will say that. Some will even say it's now. It's been 2 games after that, and we haven't scored a goal. But I'm gonna say, after the Carabao Cup final, we haven't scored a goal in the league. But let's go back to business. Martial, please don't get injured, and please start the game. Let's go. Peace.